welcome to another episode of From the Mayor's Desk with our friend and Mayor Tim Woolley. Tim, welcome to the show again.
Good to see you, Carl.
We have not been together since, about May?
It's been a while.
Yeah, we did the preview.
Yeah,
we did the preview to the summer festival. I know we've got a lot of ground to cover. Lots been happening since the summer began and spring closed out. And you and I just got out of a meeting right across the hall here on something that has been announced but really hasn't been pushed out there very hard, and that is that in your administration we're looking at about a $2 million renovation of fire stations 2 and 3, the ones on Ecorse Road
Eureka.
and on Eureka Road. That's been on Guido Euland's building and grounds list for quite a while.
Yeah, it's something that definitely needed to be done. I was over in both of them and stuff. The interiors doesn't look too bad, but they definitely need to be. They're original. And they've been kept up really well. I was really impressed with that and stuff. But just overall, they definitely need an overhaul. The exterior of 2 is always a topic of discussion with me and Guido and Johnny and stuff. When I ride over and look at the golf course, I see that. So there's some modifications we're going to make to the outside of that as well. 3, we talked about as well. There's some things we want to do over there on the exterior and stuff. But, both of them just need definitely, to be redone on the inside and stuff. They're old and original and definitely need, the kitchens need to be redone and stuff. So,
well, those, renovation of firehouses are such an underrated thing because, in all honesty, guys live in them.
They're
literally 24/7.
24-hour shifts.
Yeah, those are
stuff,
long shifts.
Yeah, we're pretty excited, and I think it's going to go good for morale, and it's something that needed to be done, and it's just one of those things that we're going to continue to invest into our stuff that we have. We need to do that. It's upkeep. And we've gotten a good long run of the stuff we had there, but it's definitely been going down, and it's time to move forward with those renovations.
Well, it's nice also. I know I was complimenting you before we came on the air. It seems like last 4 years here, we really have made some really substantial progress when it comes to upkeep of city facilities.
I'm happy, yeah. I mean, that's what we needed to do. We needed to invest in our infrastructure and our buildings. Definitely ARPA has helped with that,
Right.
And then the fund balance and stuff. But just, being able to, budget stuff properly, and, it helps with the department heads that know how to budget that correctly and in a long-term plan and stuff. So, I'm pretty proud of that, and the fact that it's not always the shiniest dime, in the bunch, but it's stuff that we need to do, and it makes it last that much longer,
Right.
And every decade or so, it needs a good overhaul.
Well, just like when, we've been talking about the fire stations recently here, but when you look back over the last year and a half when you guys really made substantial efforts with the police department, and that was truly the infrastructure they were building. You're talking about locker rooms and stuff like that. It's not really sexy to the resident maybe, but the guys and the gals who work there, I mean, that's a big deal.
Well, yeah, and it may, we hope that, when somebody's choosing maybe a place to come, that might be a tipping point,
Right.
But at the end of the day, you hear me use the word morale. I learned that in the military. It makes a huge difference in coming into work, where you work in a nicer establishment than, it's, you come into a place that's falling apart, and shabby. It kind of makes you, not want to come into work every day and stuff.
Yeah.
So when it's nice and shiny and clean and stuff, that makes it a little better.
Speaking of tangible results on your money, technology being the new technology seems to be rolled out monthly at the police department, really taking advantage of a lot of different things. And it seems to have tangible results. I mean, during the Super Bowl week, they made some arrests that were directly attributable to Taylor Police involvement. About a month afterwards, there was a chase that took place down here near Menards. That all of these new technologies were involved, whether it was the cameras along the freeway, all of those things, the darts, the drones, everything. You got to be pretty proud of that.
It is. I am. You know, it's nice. I get text messages from our chief and said, hey, we just we were able to locate a stolen car. It was darted, and then we able to find it and stuff. So this technology is working. It's incredible. For Homeland Security to reach out and work with us with the draft, that was incredible. Got a lot of letters and stuff from saying how great it was to work with our department and how professional they were, led to some great arrests. So getting those kind of people off the streets is definitely a great thing and stuff, and that technology, and it's, just as recently as our crews, as crazy it may sound, but our flock cameras, we actually grabbed, caught a couple stolen cars that people drove to the cruise. So, being all that traffic on the cruise, it alerted our vehicles that were out there that there was a stolen car, and we were able to get that car.
And based on those cameras, they were doing kind of a unofficial running count. You're looking at about 750,000 cars coming through there. Now they're not all for the cruise,
right?
But still. Talk about it. That really sends home a message on how busy it is.
It is. It's insane. It literally is. It's crazy. I live right by there. It's definitely that weekend is definitely a hairy time in my neighborhood and stuff. It's just, but knock on wood. Luckily, we didn't have any issues. Mini bikes, golf carts, and stuff. It gets
the usual.
It's getting to be an issue again.
Right.
And stuff where people still believe that when it's the cruise, they can just do whatever they want, and it just doesn't work that way. At the end of the day, it's a nice thing, but I enjoy it to a point, but it gets sometimes a little too carried away. But I think our police appreciate all the other law enforcement, organizations that come and assist with that, and but as a whole, it worked out well. Some people are, the police shut it down too early. It gets shut down at 10 o'clock. And it's. I think that works out good for everyone. And so as long as everybody can continue to behave themselves and stuff, but it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's a lot of people in a small. It's like I said, it was supposed to be the Telegraph cruise, but it's kind of evolved into the Taylor cruise.
Well, there's no doubt about that, because I know you and I have talked, and I know going home, I often make a run-up Telegraph and things like that. And it's been so evident over the last, I'm going to say 5 years. If you ride Telegraph, okay, there's literally nothing going on north of, say, about 3 blocks in the Dearborn Heights or something.
It did go north of Van Born this year, so I was kind of happy to see that a little bit. I think the Dearborn Heights Fire Department was doing some charity things over there, so I was glad, that Dearborn Heights kind of jumped on it a little bit. So I would like to see it, expand longer, just so it fans out a little bit, So, but I mean, for the most part, nobody got seriously injured. I mean, there was a couple arrests, and people could do a little better job picking their trash up. That would be great too, But as a whole, it was a successful event.
Speaking of first responders, we had a couple of great stories recently involving a young firefighter and a young policeman. Jim Zubor, fire medic, managed to rescue an autistic teenager from a pond on the Wayne County Community College campus. And he was accorded a proclamation by the city. That was a cute story.
Yeah, it was a great story. We got a call. They were over there in the campus, and the kid went out into the water, and he was out there quite a long time. And then the mom got concerned that he was going to run out of steam, so to speak. And so the fire department pulled up, and they tried to get him to come in. They couldn't. Firefighter Zuber decided to go into the water. Tried to get him to come in, couldn't, so he came up with the idea. He said, hey, I'll be a dolphin, and I'll ride you into the shore. So the kid got excited to do that, and jumped on his back, and they got him into the shore safely. And so I now kind of come up with a nickname and call him Flipper every time I see him. So, but that was a great story, and it was really good to hear. And so, we thought that deserved a little special attention, And
Jim's a great guy, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then after that, really on the heels of it, Jasper McCure, a young police officer, led a drive to purchase an iPad for a Down syndrome boy, very young boy, who had lost his device, and he used it to communicate. And from what I understand, Jasper, he led his shift, which fundraised. This boy wasn't even from Taylor, which was interesting too.
You know, Carl, that was so great because I didn't even know of that. I learned of it, you know, our clerk Cindy shared it on Facebook, this story from Channel 7 that I saw. And, you know, the next day when I got in, you know, I reached out to Chief Blair and said, you know, what's a good time to talk to, you know, the shift? And so Chief Blair said probably, you know, 6 o'clock is when they're coming in. So, you know, I stayed and I went over there and I talked to him because, you know, I asked them, you know, I said, so how many, you know, it was the afternoon shift or coming back, you know, and I said, how many of you guys live here in Taylor? And not one of them raised their hand. And I said, but, you know, what was so great is I asked them, I said, you know, when you guys remember if you guys lateraled in or if you swore in when I was here, I always say, hey guys, all I asked is that when you're here, whether you live here or not, when you're on the clock, act like you live here. Treat everybody as your neighbor and stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that shows me that they do. You know, you're going to see the bad stuff all the time, but that's the kind of stuff that you don't see or hear about. That happens a lot.
Right.
You know, and I thought that was a great story, and I was so appreciative that I wanted to go over and thank them personally. You know, and as I always, you know, I went over there to thank them not just as the mayor, as a resident. You know, and I thought that was a great thing that they did, and I really wanted them to know that, and you know, and I was happy I was able to do that, and just that was really a nice thing to do.
And it's funny.
I was very proud of them.
It's funny because when you get these guys one-on-one, no matter who they are, in this case it was Jim and Jasper, but they're almost embarrassed to talk about this stuff. I know I ran into, when I was, in fact I think I was headed for your office across the plaza, and Christiana Ford was of Channel 7 was interviewing them, and you know, McCure was almost embarrassed to talk about it. But you're right, these are really good stories, and that's the majority of the work that these guys do, I think.
Yeah, like I said, I had no idea of it, you know, and I thought that was just such a great thing to do, and that's the kind of stories that I love, you know, and I wanted to let them know how much I appreciated, you know, that they took the time and they gave money out of their own pocket to do something like that for that family. I thought was just incredible. And
it was. The speaking of outreach and help, I know we have a new VA outreach representative. She's not here this week because she's at a national convention, but Rhonda Brown is based in our building here in the Media Center. You gave me the approval for that when they reached out to us. Being a veteran, you got to be kind of proud of that, because it seems like despite the fact that the VA has really soft rolled this out, Rhonda's constantly talking to veterans who are in need of either something really, really important or just a connect the dots thing. That's got to be really important.
It is, you know, and I encourage people to use it, because if, you know, if you're a veteran and you're not sure, if you got questions, just come talk to her. You know, a service agent is so important, and even if you're not sure on something, you know, they have the knowledge that they can at least connect you with people. So a lot of times a service agent is if, you know, you're out of the military and you're having issues with, you know, an injury or, you know, other things, that they can maybe help you file a claim. That's the process of going through VA. Or they can steer you in a direction to maybe talk with somebody. You know, it's a great resource to have right here, you know, and you can walk into the Taylor Veterans Museum Monday, Wednesday, Friday. She's here all those days, right?
To be honest with you, she's been spending time here Monday through Friday.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, which is
9
great.
o'clock to about 4.
Yeah, and I know my dad has came over and talked to her, and he was very grateful that she's here. I try to encourage anybody, and it's just, you know, any questions, you know, that that you may have, that she would be able to help you with, and I think it's a great resource to have. A lot of them, finding a good service agent is really hard to find, you know, and a lot of times now you got to go to VA, you know, and then a lot of times if you're at VA, there's quite a long waiting list to see one if you're there just for an appointment or something and you wanted to stop in and just ask a quick question. it's it's a process. So to be able to walk in here, if she's with the client, she might say, hey, I might give me a half an hour or something like that. But even then, you can walk out and come back later or something like that. So it's a great resource to have, and it's nice that our Veterans Museum is able to provide that here.
Well, that's fantastic. We've heard some frustration on the part of drivers, and who could blame them? There's so much construction going on. But I know we wanted to talk about one thing in specific, and that was the end here for the stretch of Beach Daily that we're doing. Where are we at? Why are we there?
You probably heard a little frustration out of me at the last meeting, and I should probably touch on that. I got a little, Beach Daily is 98% done. So I think this past weekend we wanted to, they left the cones up because they wanted to stripe. They did the shoulder work, but weather was going to dictate whether they were going to be able to get the striping done. And unfortunately, Saturday and Sunday, the sun would be out for 10 minutes, and then we'd get a downpour of rain for 20 or 30 minutes. So I don't think they were able to get the striping done. Hopefully, they started either yesterday or today. I'll have to check with maybe Chris Gibbs and see if they're, but hopefully by the end of this week, Beach Daily should be complete. I was getting a little probably anxious, when we put out a project, we usually put an end date of what we want, and they are meeting that. We wanted it done before September, and they're on schedule to do that. But I was, there's a lot of construction going on in a lot of places, and it gets to me sometimes too. So
well, yeah, I think
been vetting my frustration a a at the last meeting, saying that maybe I thought it should have been done already. And,
I think it's one of those things
but
where
they're meeting their end of the bargain.
Even if this project over here gets done maybe early, this one over here that directly affects that one over there doesn't.
And sometimes
it's just
again, we didn't, we don't always know, and I'm always reaching out to people to please let us know if something's going to be, from another organization. They're now doing work over on Goddard Road by the animal shelter and the golf course. So we may not have known that was going to be happening.
It never ends. Hey, speaking of the animal shelter, one of the nicer projects that the city has undertaken is underway fully right now, and it's basically a total renovation of the shelter. They're going to double it. They're expanding it. You're going to get twice as many cages for dogs and cats and things like that, and all the little accoutrements that you'd want. Again, a nice feather in your hat.
Yeah, that's one that's really, really nice. We sat down. That's a certain act, that money goes into, and we sat down, me and Mr. Bazura, with Ralph and Sean and Matt, and said, hey, we need to do some serious work in our animal shelter. And at that time, Matt and Sean was saying, what about maybe expanding, and we sat down and looked at all the numbers and said, we think we could do this, and so we're pretty happy. We think this is going to be a phenomenal, asset to our community. I've had other communities already reaching out saying, hey, you think you'll be able to handle our, but Carl, we're already at capacity, and I think even moving into the next phase, when this opens, we'll still, so unfortunately, I'm having to tell them, like, we'll have to wait and see, but I don't think we're even going to be able to help at that point, so it just shows you that, there's so many animals out there in need of homes and stuff, and, as Bob Barker used to say, please have your pets spayed or neutered, because there's just such an abundance out there, and these poor little creatures need homes, man, and they fill up quick, and, it's just, you want to help them all, but, unfortunately we only have so much room.
It seems like that particular group of staffers over there now, from leadership on down, really has taken the bull by the horns. They're doing a lot of stuff. I mean, the shelter's all over the place.
Yeah, Matt's office, he's our deputy DPW director, but Matt's office is in the animal shelter now, and and he definitely, you know, he fits in great over there. He loves it over there, you know, and you know, from our employees to our volunteers over there. I mean, if you drive down North Line Road, you know, in front of the golf course, we have volunteers that are constantly there, walking dogs and stuff, and that's unreal. That's so appreciated. You know, it gets those pets an opportunity to get out of them, you know, out of there and walk around and associate with other people and other animals, you know, and stuff. So I think that's great, you know, and it's just another group of people that you just, you know, you appreciate everything they do, you know.
Yeah, they're probably the most underappreciated bunch around because they are loyal.
Yeah, and we're actually, you know, with the new facility, we're going to have a dedicated room for our volunteers because they're such an active part, you know, where they can have space for their stuff and, you know, and, you know, they're just a great asset to our community and to those animals down there.
Real credit to them. Earlier this year, speaking of good news, earlier this year, D-Business, Detroit, and RE/MAX announced that Taylor is the hottest market for first-time home buyers.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that. So Jasmine from DCC, she's their economic, you know, development person, and she sent me that email, and she's like, "Hey, Mayor, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but." I'm like, I wasn't, but this is great to see. So, you know, first-time home buyers, Taylor is the hottest market. So, by all means, we're happy to see that young families are coming to Taylor, you know, looking to start their life, you know, and, you know, that's always a great thing to see, you know. You know, Taylor, I think, is great as far as it offers many different, you know, areas, you know, different price ranges as well. So, yeah, I was really happy to see that, and it's just a good thing, you know, that, you know, younger buyers are looking in Taylor to start their family, you know, which will, you know, help our population grow, you know, and, you know, hopefully those families will continue to stay here, you know.
And when you look at it, I know just, 15 years ago now, with the recession, so many of the older home owners kind of driven out of some of the neighborhoods because of the economic conditions. And the blight that goes on when you go from older homeowner to renter, especially dependent on who they're renting from.
Yeah.
You know, that blight can just be cancerous, and I know we've done a pretty good job of getting our arms around that.
Yeah, I mean, foreclosed homes and stuff like that, they're not nowhere near like they used to be, you know, and you know, it's a different style of auction process than it used to be and stuff. So, you know, with the past, the city has kind of stayed away from that, you know. But you know, the numbers are way down from what they used to be and stuff. So
yeah, because that first year was, what were there, 100
100
homes
was over
were claimed?
100, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at something like that. You recently spent a lot of your time for a week at the Junior League World Series in Taylor. Worked through some tough weather, had some good weather. Taylor North, the host team, made another run this year. Almost a totally different team with the exception of two young kids. They won the U.S. title for the second straight year, but were shut out in the finals by Chinese Taipei in a pretty tight game. What'd you think of the baseball?
I thought it was good. You know, I mean, I always, like I said, I love the Junior League World Series. I made it up pretty much almost every day this year. I thought Taylor looked great. I mean, back-to-back U.S. championships. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, that's no small feat, Carl. You know, just like when our kids won the 12-year-old. This is amazing stuff, and I think we're almost getting to the point where we're expecting it, you know, and that's unbelievable, you know. So just another incredible run. You know, Chinese Taipei, they're just a good team. I mean, literally that game maybe should have been 1-0, you know. I mean, it was definitely a pitcher's duel in the beginning. You know, pitch count is everything, you know. Taylor probably didn't start out the way they wanted to, a couple, you know, errors and stuff, you know, but it was a good team, but definitely, Chinese Taipei was definitely, you got to score runs, give yourself a chance, and they had shut us down. And, that pitcher was, 13?
Oh,
he was
yeah.
a young, he was good, and so, they start young too. I was watching the 12-year-old yesterday, and, they were playing Cuba, and I turned it on just when Chinese Taipei hit the grand slam. So I think they ended up winning the game. I wasn't sure on that one. So, but it's always a great time. I love to watch the players connect. It was cool how, you saw the story with Canada and
yeah.
Nicaragua really
Yeah.
kind of became
Yeah.
good friends and stuff. And that's the stuff you love to see. That's the behind the scenes stuff. When these kids are living in the hotels and stuff. And, being a coach, I got to experience that, going to state tournaments and even regionals and stuff. You meet people from all over the country, and in that case, the world, and to make them relationships and stuff is just, it's awesome. And, credit to Taylor North and the Junior League World Series staff, Dan Bazura and his, they did an incredible job with that rain day that they had to able to get that Taylor game in that would have set them really back if they weren't able to get that game in. So just another outstanding a week, no issues. I think the park was definitely crowded. I actually think the park was more crowded for the U.S. championship game than the championship game.
Sometimes that happens. I
Yeah.
know last year I think they claimed
Yeah.
that. And then this year, I know we were looking at some of the analytics of traffic through the park.
Yeah.
And it really does show a definitive uptick, not only for the World Series. I mean, the World Series takes it from here to here.
Yeah.
But when Taylor North plays,
Yeah.
you can really see
Oh,
an
yeah.
uptick. And I believe on Saturday that it was headed toward. Now this is through the park,
Yeah.
okay, but you were looking at maybe 4,700.
Yeah.
And in the finals, probably about 4,500.
Yeah.
Those are big numbers for a
huge,
Little
yeah.
League game.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it was. Saturday night was beautiful. I mean, we, it actually got a little cool. It was, and it was nice that Taylor, although those 8 o'clock games, they ran a little, getting past my bedtime a couple times. I was teasing Dan about that, but it gave everybody a chance to go see Taylor play in the evenings, and so I think that definitely helped fill the park. And it was just great to see everybody there. It's always a lot of the same people come every year to enjoy it, and it's literally one of my favorite weeks. I can tell you that.
I was going to tell you, I don't know, it doesn't seem like very many people have been blowing this horn, but Jackson Schufelt, okay, good, really good kid, okay, who's really coming into his own now.
Whose dad works in our DPW.
Bingo, okay, another thing. But Jackson, if you think about it, he was a very young Little Leaguer for that U12 team, okay, that won the whole thing.
Oh, yeah?
In Williamsport. And then he comes back. He won last year as a relatively young man. And then this year he comes back as the starting catcher. He's the stud. He's in the middle of the lineup with, with a few others. That's, he's got 3 big-time
I didn't even think
medals.
of that.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, to win the 12, because I forgot he was on that team.
Oh, yeah.
And then, back-to-back U.S. championships,
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
And I know I was messaging with his mom, and I was telling her, I just had, because I had reached out to her on a couple different occasions. She's kind of team mom, okay. And I said I had to tell you this after I saw this week. I said, your boy has really grown up. I mean, I remember
he
when he
shot
was
up.
just a little right
Skinny,
fielder,
yeah.
and now he's just this. He's kind of a stud catcher who really knows what he's doing at the plate. It's nice to see that happen.
Yeah, I coached Bobby's brother, as a kid and stuff, and Rob, who the head coach, also works in our DPW.
Right, exactly.
Guido last year, those 2 guys this year. I don't know who's the coach next year.
Yeah, boy, we have to roll them out.
Yeah.
I think Ralph's got to get a program there going.
So.
I know one of the Junior League World Series days, you took a little exit there to swing over to a photo exhibit that's going on at Wayne County Community College. Gerald Thomas, who takes a tremendous amount, he's a former employee with us, takes a tremendous amount of photography for his own, and he's a student, okay? And some of his stuff is there. That had to be That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, so Gerald has become an avid photographer. He shoots for the Junior League World Series
Got a
now
great
and stuff,
eye.
and he always volunteers, to come to a lot of city events and stuff. Former, city worker and stuff. He reached out to me. He was able to. Wayne County offers free schooling over a certain age, and because he got into the photography, he ended up taking a couple classes, and they did that over there, and. He had there was a group of them. I think there was looked like about 10 of them, and they had a showcase and stuff. And I went over there, and it was very, very impressive, And Andy Stevie, who's the president over there, and another guy whose kid I coached,
Sure.
And it was just nice to see, I mean, Gerald took some great pictures, a lot of them City of Taylor and stuff. And actually, just last week, I need to thank him, like during the fireworks. He took some beautiful pictures.
Oh, yeah,
he
he's
took
good with
one
that.
picture of almost the grand finale with the Ferris wheel, and I just told him what a great picture that was, and he actually brought me a framed picture of that.
No kidding.
Last week, and I'm going to put it in that, when you walk to my
Oh, yeah.
office, that little hallway right
Yeah.
there. And I told him I wanted to buy the one picture that he put in his exhibit of the black and white, but the red schoolhouse at Heritage Park.
Oh,
how it
yeah.
just stands out, and I want to put those right next to each other in that little hallway and
Wow.
stuff. So, I thought that was such a nice thing he did, and I want to buy that picture out of my own pocket, and that way they can be next to each other in that hallway there and stuff. So, but yeah, just an incredible thing. And, I was talking to the lady that, her pictures were next to his, and, hers was tea party, was her theme. So there was a teacup in all her photos, and it was kind of cool. I kind of never really been to anything like that, and just to see the perspective of each individual photographer, and it was a really nice thing. And Gerald took some beautiful pictures, and it just, different photos from different people. It was kind of cool, but it was nice to see that a lot of people took pictures in Heritage Park as part of their,
Well, it is a beautiful
Yeah.
setting, and,
Yeah.
and people seem to really, really like
Yeah.
it for a lot of different
Yeah.
reasons. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all the news isn't always good. And within the past month since we met last, we've lost two really dedicated Taylor guys. First, Jack Meyer passed, and then Frank Canning Sr. Left us. Both longtime residents, highly dedicated to Taylor, great guys. Thoughts?
Yeah, Jack.
you know.
Jack was a really good. Jack was a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to know Jack when I first got on council. Didn't really know him that well. Got involved with the Veterans Museum. That's how I really got to know Jack. Jack was a Vietnam veteran and a Desert Storm veteran. So I really learned Jack had a love for music, which I do too. Jack had a goofy, zany sense of humor, which I do too. So me and Jack really gelled well together and stuff. And I always enjoyed Jack. And yeah, that was tough. Agent Orange. Got him from Vietnam, and so. Yeah, Jack will be missed. He served on city council with me, and he was just a great guy. And I was able to go over and see him a couple days before he passed, and I was so glad and thankful that I did. And we had a good laugh, and stuff. And so, and then so he'll be sorely missed. And then Frank was always a good guy, another guy with a great sense of humor. Met him through the Veterans Museum. Big, advocate for veterans and stuff. Really big into the Yankee Air Museum
yes,
and
yes.
stuff, and was always doing that. And former police officer, another guy with a great sense of humor. And he had been battling cancer for a while now. So Frank was a good guy. He was instrumental in making Taylor a Purple Heart community.
Absolutely.
And so,
Yeah.
he was, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you mind?" I'm like, "Absolutely not," and anything we can do to help you and stuff. And, he ended up moving to Tennessee a couple years ago. And, but another great guy that's going to be missed, and, since I started this, I've met some great people, and, they've passed away, but at least I've got their memories,
Well, and a great thing about Frank Canning Sr. was we still have Frank Canning Jr.
Yeah,
around,
yeah,
don't we?
he's still over at the police. Yep.
which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, last show that we did, we previewed the Taylor Summer Festival. Now that, and we were looking ahead.
Yeah.
Now that we look behind us, what'd you think?
I thought everything went well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, the drone show was very popular.
Wasn't it?
You know, as I pointed out, you know, that was, hopefully we're going to try to continue to do that, but that was a one-time sponsorship, sponsorship thing. But, you know, it was very popular. I thought it was really cool. Both shows were, I thought, really well. I was very impressed with 38 Special. I thought that was a phenomenal show. You know, I've always liked them, but I wasn't the biggest fan, and you know, whatever. I've never seen them live, but I thought their show was absolutely incredible.
They were on their game.
David Fio was
Yes.
incredible.
Oh,
I mean,
my goodness.
he definitely
Yes.
filled the, you know, he had the place full.
Right.
You know, when he came out, you know, and he was the first one to come out, and so yeah, it was. You know, April Wine was, you know, definitely a good. You know, we always want to see more people at the shows and stuff. But as a whole, we, you know, we did a little better than breaking even, you know, just so that's the goal. We want to have a great 3-4 day party, you know, and have the residents enjoy everything, and that's what we did. I think Guido just sent an email today. I think we were maybe $2,000 or $3,000
To the good.
you know, to the good, you know. So
That's all you can.
yeah,
You know, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, you know, if
Yeah.
you can be
Yeah.
even or just a little bit above, that's great.
well, it's hard to predict who's going to see what. You know, there's a lot of competition now with a lot of cities are doing festivals. You know, Uncle Sam Jam has a big one like a week or two after us. So, you know, we don't know which bands they're going to get. And then people with budgets nowadays, you know, you know, they want to spend their money. Like, so, you know, you got to try to figure out, you know, I don't know if you saw, but, you know, the person I was looking forward to seeing and meeting was Jack Russell from Great White. Well, he ended up passing away.
Right.
I think it was about a week ago. So he was a little more ill than what I even thought, because when we booked him, you know, I did mention to Guido that I said, you know, physically he was having some times, and I said, you know, hopefully he can physically be able to do the show. So when I did get the call, I was like, oh, you know, but kind of in the back of my mind was a little, but I didn't realize he was as ill as he was. So sorry to see him go as well. He's great legacy. Great White has a lot of good music out there.
Really kind of amazing when you think over the course of, you know, you go back year by year by year. Knock on wood, with all the people in the middle of the summer coming to the Taylor Summer Festival, we're not having a lot of problems.
You know, I think the police, you know, the presence has definitely helped that. You know, when we first brought it back, you know, probably about 8-10 years ago, roughly, you know, that was the one thing. I think the first year, a little shaky, you know, and then that's when we decided, hey, we got to definitely beef our police presence, you know, and that's when, you know, other, you know, we kind of come up with that agreement. We'll help you at yours if you help us at ours and stuff. So a lot of people, you know, compliment about that they feel safe at those, you know, events. And, you know, a lot of people don't necessarily like it, but fencing in the carnival is helpful too. You know, it doesn't allow people to, you know, hang out and necessarily cause problems.
Sure,
You know,
sure,
and stuff.
exactly.
You know, and so, you know, that's the thing. We knock on wood, like you said, we've been pretty fortunate, and hopefully it stays that course. You know, and probably in the next month or two, we'll start that band search again for next year. You know, which can take a long process. You know.
We've also, we saw a couple new wrinkles this year, okay, including you in the dunk tank. You weren't the only one, but you were there.
I got beat up from that thing. My foot, my back, I was all beat up.
Well,
but
between that and the rage car that the schools had going and
Yeah,
things like that,
yeah.
it seemed like we were raising some decent money for some good some good things.
Yeah, Rotary and then the school foundation and stuff. It was a good time, you know. You know, I was kind of hoping the water would be a little warmer in that dunk tank. I give Deputy Chief Levedini, he was the best at talking the most smack, you know. And who was it? First one, Captain Nick Hill put me in the drink, you know, right out the get-go. So you know, I got wet right away, but it got pretty hot out there. So actually, but you know, somebody that doesn't have the best back when you know that thing, and then there's like a little ledge in there.
And you can catch yourself there
well,
too.
you can to
Yeah.
step up on getting
Oh,
back
okay.
up out of the tank is kind of the tough part. In the one we had,
Mm-hmm.
well, my foot slipped off that plastic thing,
Oh, jeez.
so my big toe and my little toe were like purple. You know, it was like, man, what is, you know? So I was hobbling around the next couple days, you know, but you know, it was all good fun. You know, we had
Mm-hmm.
a good time, and you know, Rotary and the school foundation was able to make some money and stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, hopefully next year people will know more about it and you know, help drive funds and stuff like that. So,
With all the good things, with
yeah.
all the good things happening, any shout outs you want to give out there?
Yeah, you know, I know I kind of touched on it earlier, and I was thinking about this. I was driving out of Lakes of Taylor, you know, and it's those volunteers at the animal shelter. You know, every time I ride down North Line, every time I come out of the golf course, you know, I go over there for lunch. I have meetings over there. You know, I do golf once in a blue moon. There's just this continuous, you know, people walking up and down North Line with those animals and stuff, and so I'm going to give a shout out to them. You know, I greatly appreciate everything they do. They're a huge, you know, part of our team, and they're greatly appreciated. So I definitely want to give a shout out and a thank you to them for everything they do for us.
Sometimes it's tough to think about those things because you know there's a lot of good things going on right now. You know,
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
know.
people like to dwell on the negative, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of good things.
Carl,
going
I mean, the whole team, you know me. I preach
Yeah,
Team Taylor, and I'm really happy with the team, you know. As a whole, you know, every day, you know, there's always something, but at the end of the day, I'm protective, you know, when people, you know, on social
Oh, yeah.
media want to talk about employees and all this. I'm here living it every day. I'm grateful, and I've been here long enough to see, man, what we have, and the city of Taylor should be grateful for the employees that we have, in my opinion. And I'm not just saying that.
Oh, I hear
know,
you.
I see it.
I hear you. I hear you. Going to do anything else with your summer as it winds down?
No,
real
I kind
quickly?
of, you know, I was able to get a couple vacations in,
Yeah.
you know. You know, me and the wife and the kids went to Mexico,
Yeah.
which was a nice trip. I haven't been that hot since probably basic training, you know, but it was beautiful. I got to see some ancient ruins that I've always seen, you know, that I, you know, always wanted to be an archaeologist. So I got to see Chichen Itza down in Cancun, Mexico, and then we did a week up in my, you know, up north,
Sure.
you know, which was nice and stuff. So as of now, no more vacations planned until, you know, later in the fall or whatever. You know,
Well, and
just
before
few
we
days.
know it, we'll be talking about the Winterfest and
Winterfest, yeah, summer's
Lollapalooza and the
kinda, yeah, got
Winterfest
Labor
and
Day
everything
coming
else
up,
going
but
on. So
Yeah, no, everything's kind of winding down and, you know, getting ready to transition into those
Oh, yeah.
winter months and everything. So, but summer did fly by this year. It seemed
did.
like, you know, definitely
It,
flew by.
I think the hotter it is, the faster it flies.
Yeah, it definitely got a little toasty this year.
Well, that's about it for our show today. Thanks to Mayor Tim
Sure,
Woolley
thanks for having me.
for coming on and sharing his views of all things Taylor. For Samantha Rickert and Joey Camilleri behind the controls, I'm Carl Zymak. We'll see you on the next offering of From the Mayor's Desk.